Hello, I'm Robbie Fowler and you're watching Redmen TV.
Hello, welcome to the Redmen TV with the latest news. No, we haven't signed anyone else in a player sense, but Liverpool looks set to announce Sean O'Driscoll as the brand new assistant manager at the club, replacing the short-wearing maestro himself, Colin Pascoe, prompting reactions along the lines of on social media last night. And look, immediately I was one of them. I think, initial reactions, you see it, and given the players, the ex-players and the ex-managers and ex-assistants that have been bandied around for the role, no one had him in the sweepstake at work. Nobody had Sean O'Driscoll. Let's be perfectly honest. And if you did, get your numbers on the lottery now, and let us take a percentage of that for telling you to do it. Yeah, look, I think the initial reaction when you saw it, and we know that basically Twitter amplifies the misery of Liverpool Football Club quite spectacularly at times, but you see that name and you immediately go, I think I've heard of him. I think of it. Everyone then shoots over to Google, has a quick look at his wiki page, looks at his managerial history and goes, shit. What have we done here? This is a joke, blah blah blah, and all the misery that basically the signing of Roberto Firmino we thought had put to bed just reared its ugly head again like an old horror villain coming back for yet another scare. But I thought I'd do a little bit of digging, a little bit of looking into him. I mean, the basics first and foremost. He's 57 years old. He's the current England under-19s boss. His managerial career has covered the highlights of football, such as Bournemouth, Doncaster, Crawley, Nottingham Forest, and Bristol City. Brendan Rodgers was quoted last season talking about O'Driscoll. I think a lot of newspapers have picked this up. We'll read the quotes nevertheless. The problem with guys is that guys who are that type of coach, you never hear of them really. Look at Sean O'Driscoll. He's one of the best coaches I've ever come across. He has never had a chance in the top flight. His teams were expressive, had movement, they were technical, but he'll probably never get a chance at a higher level. So everyone seems to be hanging on that, and obviously it speaks volumes to the fact that this isn't just someone who's been randomly chucked at Brendan Rodgers. He clearly has respect for the guy, rates him very highly, and so we know that there's a potential for a good fit there. What is most interesting about this, now my time working for Ball Street on a show last year, we did a little bit of work with a guy called the Exiled Robin, who runs a Bristol City podcast and blog. Now, he interviewed Sean O'Driscoll when he was manager of Bristol City, and this is the thing that's actually, I don't want to say excited, but the thing that's settled my nerves over it is some quotes from this. Now, bear with me, it's quite heavy going, but very interesting stuff. So he was asked a question about his time at Bournemouth and the style of football that they were playing, about it being a possession, passing-based, performance or whatever. Sean O'Driscoll says the whole possession passing thing is a bit of a misnomer. I've never coached passing. We aim to give players options on the ball, then coach decision making. You can't be predictable. Sometimes passing out from the back, and this is the bit that really settled me nerves. Sometimes passing it out from the back might be the right thing to do, but why would you persist with doing that if your centre halves or sitting midfielder then kept getting caught in possession in dangerous areas? Yeah, how good's that? If players are comfortable in possession, don't lose the ball, like Xavi and Busquets, it's an easy option to give it to them. But sometimes your keeper or centre half spotting a striker has peeled off his man into a dangerous position in the channel and playing the ball up to him is completely the right thing. If you keep getting joy that way and you play 15 to 20 long balls into that space, does that make you a long ball team or an intelligent one? That's how good's that? And like I say, it's not necessarily like, oh wow, it's all sensational, all amazing, but as far as like saying the right words and having the right understanding of what we're talking about, that for me fits exactly in with what Liverpool's problem. Look where Liverpool's success came from last season was abandoning to some extent the absolute reliance on playing the ball around the goalkeeper and moving it around. I think that what we want to see from Liverpool is having the ability to go a bit more direct when the situation demands it, but intelligently. And if this is the O'Driscoll's sort of ethos, I guess, on football, then that's going to be a brilliant thing to drill into the players, and hopefully makes Liverpool a bit more of an effective team, more like they were, the season before last than they were for the vast majority of last season. Just a little bit more on this then. It sounds simple, but from the youngest ages, players in this country have never been challenged to think and make decisions like that themselves. They've always waited for a coach to tell them what to do. What we try to say is, here are your options. What do you think is the right thing to do and why? If they pick the right option and it doesn't come off, we still applaud the decision making. But if they continually pick the wrong option, then you've got a problem. I want to develop players in the team who understand what is being asked of them and therefore can make their own decisions on the field of play. Players who are prepared to take responsibility for the decisions they make. As I said before, we'll never have a go at a player for trying something, and if it not coming off, it was the right thing to do at the time. If it was stupid, irresponsible and careless, they won't be afforded the same grace, so don't expect Jose Enrique to really fit in with this model. The more times you can create environments in training where people can take responsibility, the better the team will be. People who get that concept fly very quickly, and although they may not always be the most talented boy, they are your glue, the unsung heroes in your team. In any walk of life, you want characters around you that you can trust, even down to the most basic things like punctuality. Mario Balotelli. Why should footballers be any different? It's just basic professionalism. I don't think, literally, I can find no fault with any of that. And, there'll be people out there who go, oh, it's just words. But, that's what you've got as your basis. You've got to have the right attitude. You've got to say the right word, and then you go out and put them into practice. So, as far as I'm concerned, that's I'm not dancing for joy. I'm not running around clicking my heels, but as far as I'm concerned, that's, as I say, settled the nerves more than anything for me. One last thing before I go, because I do want to know your opinion on this in the comments below. Just look at the assistant managers around the Premier League in general, because obviously there's been a lot of this, look at the path he's come from, and people. I don't know what the preconceived notion of a Liverpool assistant manager is. Presumably, that comes from the boot room, dyed in the wool red. I don't know, but. Out of interest, obviously Brian Kidd is the joint assistant manager at Man City. I thought it was quite interesting because he was obviously very famously assistant manager at Man United, loads of success with Alex Ferguson, moved on to be Blackburn manager and had something like a 27% win ratio while he was there. It was absolutely abysmal. Came back into being into assistant managership. Whatever. Anyway, so he went to Leeds. He was then at England, then Sheffield United, then Portsmouth as an assistant manager before going into manage the youth team at Man City and then being promoted internally. Steve Bowler at Arsenal was famously a player for Arsenal's side, but he was managing the youth team and did very well there and was promoted internally. Obviously Ryan Giggs, similarly for Man United, very, very celebrated player, had a quick bash at the management thing, ended up on the coaching staff there. Steve Holland at Chelsea was the England Under-21s assistant manager and Chelsea reserves boss before being a Chelsea assistant manager. And Ferreira, who's one of the other coaches at Chelsea as well, was actually going back. He's been with Mourinho all the way through, obviously the biggest clubs in the world, but started off as the fitness coach at Porto. So I think if nothing else, it kind of suggests that there is no standard route into becoming an assistant manager, and if Brendan Rodgers believes this guy can add something to Liverpool, and I can already see just from that, I don't know what Colin Pascoe's philosophy of football was. I'm guessing it's the same as Brendan Rodgers because they're mates, but I couldn't tell you anything about what Pascoe brought. I couldn't tell you about what he wants to see from Liverpool. I couldn't even tell you, other than wearing shorts and putting the cones out for the team. I didn't know what he brought to Liverpool football, apart from occasionally telling people where to stand for corners, because that worked really well. And pretty much that's it. So whereas you can look at the history of Sean O'Driscoll and it's there for all to see, and it doesn't look great in terms of manager, but at least I know what type of coach he's going to be and what type of things he's going to potentially at least try to bring to Liverpool. So that makes me a lot happier now that I've seen that. If you want to read more of that interview, there's actually a 3-part podcast and an extensive interview on The Exiled Robin. On Twitter. Go and follow him and go and check it all out. He's got a few comments about it as well. Fantastic blog, a fantastic podcast there. So go and check it out. Anyway, thanks very much for watching. Do leave us your thoughts on the appointments. Has it left you feeling a bit flat? Having heard all that, does that make you feel a little bit better about it? If it does, good. If it doesn't, why? Cheer up. It could be worse. yeah, as I said, thoughts in the comments below. Do check out the subscriber shows this week on the Reds News Roundup. We were discussing Christian Benteke and why everyone's fuming about him as Liverpool's potential #1 striking target. More about Raheem Sterling, because that's going to rumble on and on and on. Loads of other brilliant stuff. Full 2 60-minute plus shows on the redmentv.com, completely free for a month. I'll link to it at the end of the video. Go and check it out. Thank you very much for watching. Ta-da.
Oh.